My name is Maya, and I grew up in a house built on silence. Not a peaceful silence, but a suffocating, heavy silence that seemed to hold 1,000 secrets within its walls. People in the city called our house the haunted house, because despite its large multi-story structure, its dark aura made anyone reluctant to turn their head. The house was indeed shrouded in dim lighting, not because we wanted to save money, but because in some corners, especially in the garage and the empty building behind, even the highest wattage lights would mysteriously go out. This house was built by my father, Mr. Danu, in the 1970 seconds. Initially, this location was not a residential area at all. Mr. Danu, with incredible courage, built his first house in the middle of a dense banyan forest, far from any villages. He single-handedly drove the foundation pillars into the still wild land. Mr. Danu was not a supernatural figure, but he was deeply immersed in mystical philosophy. He often performed self-purification rituals on the beach, not to seek wealth, but to sharpen his inner sensitivity, allowing him to read things that had not yet occurred, or to see invisible entities. In other words, my father not only built a house, he also built a spiritual bridge. After the main building was completed, disturbances began. Not ordinary ghosts, but something primitive and ancient. My father once told me that at dusk, he glimpsed a human-headed snake ghost disappearing among the newly poured foundations. It was an early warning that this place was already inhabited by much older guardians. From then on, Mr. Danu became increasingly sensitive, often receiving messages through dreams or sleep paralysis. However, the terror I truly recognized began with inanimate objects. One night, around 2 a.m., while the whole family, including me, was asleep, the silence was shattered by a very strange sound. My son's electric scooter squeaked loudly, playing cheerful toy music. I jolted awake. I knew it was a toy scooter whose on-off button was incredibly difficult to press, unable to turn itself on due to a short circuit. With a shudder, I walked toward the dark garage. A deadly chill immediately hit me. The closer I got, the clearer the music became, like the laughter of an unseen entity. However, just as I stood in front of the scooter, the music died. Instantly, a cold hand gripped my throat, but I knew I wasn't alone. I instinctively looked up, toward the attic. There, in the pitch darkness, penetrated only by a sliver of moonlight, I saw it. A ghostly figure standing upright. Its face was dark and dirty, tied tightly around its head. It stood still, staring straight at me. I didn't scream, I just froze. It was my first face-to-face encounter with very real terror in the house I felt had trapped us all in. The worst disturbances in the haunted house didn't just come as an adult. They've been present since I was a child, intermingling with my sleep and dreams. I still vividly remember my first conscious spiritual experience, which occurred when I was in elementary school. Our family slept in a row in front of the TV, a habit we adopted because we didn't want to sleep alone. In the middle of the night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to a strange noise behind the guest chair. I turned my head slowly. There, sitting in chairs that were usually empty, were two elderly women in tattered, dirty white robes and traditional attire. They sat quietly, solemn, as if watching over us as we slept. Their faces weren't very clear, but their aura and ancient attire were palpable. I froze. My body froze, unable to scream or move. By the time I managed to wake my mother and point behind her, the two figures had simply vanished. From that moment on, I knew this house was never truly empty. As I grew older, the apparitions evolved to become more frightening and aggressive. As a teenager, one afternoon, I was in a back alley, an area near the former kitchen and the dead forest. Suddenly, from the darkness of the alley, a jet-black shadow, incredibly large and tall, flashed past. The figure moved quickly, as if in a hurry, and then vanished. I knew it wasn't human. It was the same figure I'd often seen in my trances. A giant, hairy entity, known to the people as a Genderuwo. The peak of my teenage terror came while I was still in school. I was resting in the late afternoon in my room, which was directly adjacent to the large bamboo tree next to the house. I felt disoriented, my mind blank. I knew something was wrong. Shortly after, I was possessed. What was strange was that the moment I screamed, the lights in our entire house went out completely. It wasn't a village-wide blackout. Only our house was plunged into darkness, as if the energy had been deliberately withdrawn. By then, I was unconscious. My world had become an empty, stuffy, and dark room, where I screamed for help without anyone hearing me. My father, mother, and older brother panicked as they watched me growl and scratch the floor like a tiger. After the incident, I had a strange dream for 3 consecutive nights. A large white tiger came from the side of the house, approaching me. On the 3rd night, the tiger scratched me on the back. The next day, my niece, who has special sensitivity, said to me, "Auntie, last night I saw a tiger claw mark on your back." I knew that the entity had not only invaded my soul, but had also left a tangible physical and spiritual imprint. After we got married, my husband and I moved into the front room of the haunted house. This move seemed to be a signal to the unseen inhabitants of the house. The disturbances were no longer fleeting apparitions, but a programmed daily terror. Every night, especially after midnight, we often heard strange sounds. A shrill, feminine laughter, undoubtedly coming from the figure that often resided in the bamboo tree next to the house. And the faint, but distinct, sound of singing could be heard in the distance. But most disturbing of all was the knocking on the door. On a quiet night, when the entire neighborhood was completely silent, I heard 3 soft knocks on our metal garage door. I ignored them, thinking it was normal. But the incident happened again on a different night. This time, my husband heard it too. We looked at each other, both knowing there was no one outside. The climax came a few days later. As we were lying in bed, we suddenly heard a loud bang, like a large ball being thrown with full force against our metal door. We were both startled, and my husband immediately opened the door, looking for a cat or something to throw. However, it was dark and empty outside. The bang was so strong, it was as if the figure wanted to make sure its presence was truly felt by us. In addition to the auditory disturbances, I began experiencing strange dreams followed by severe sleep paralysis. These disturbances always began with nightmares. Then, I would wake up, or semi-awake, and feel like my body was being crushed by an incredibly heavy weight, unable to move or scream. I screamed in my mind, begging for help from my husband, who was sleeping next to me. But my voice never came out. In that state of being crushed, The figure I had seen as a teenager in the hallway appeared. A large, black, hairy Genderuwo. He pressed down on top of me, his face close to mine. I could feel his disgusting fur and see his form, much larger than a human. He wasn't just crushing me. He was trying to have sex with me. The figure whispered a single sentence in a deep, terrifying voice. "I'm glad you are." It liked my presence in that house. It wanted to possess me. I fought with all my might, trying to take a deep breath, fighting its palpable grip on my body. I knew this was a spiritual battle, not a physical one. My husband didn't hear anything, leaving me alone, trapped under the creature's pressure for what felt like an eternity. Finally, with what remained of my consciousness, I managed to overcome the paralysis with a loud, silent prayer. I realized that the only protection in this haunted house wasn't the lock or the fence, but the strength of the faith I'd brought with me before closing my eyes. The disturbances in the haunted house didn't just occur at night, but also disrupted our inner peace during broad daylight. In our family's eyes, the house felt hot, stuffy, and gloomy, as if an energy were constantly pressing down on us, making it feel like a prison. This negative atmosphere affected every interaction within the family. We began to frequently argue violently over trivial matters. Dirty, a little angry, tired, a little emotional. My husband and I fought frequently, making us feel uncomfortable and constantly wanting to be out of the house. This conflict infected every member of the family, as if someone delighted in watching us destroy each other. The workers in our house experienced the same strange occurrences. My brother owned a workshop in the garage. His employees were once working late at night. Suddenly, a loud, rock-throwing noise came from the darkness. The worker thought it was his friends messing around. He shouted, "Don't be so nosy." But when he turned to look, there was no one there. Then, in a dark corner of the hallway, he saw a large, tall, black figure, a Genderuwo, standing silently, watching him. He was terrified and immediately asked to go home, refusing to return to work overtime. This confirmed that the Genderuwo I had encountered in the hallway, and the one that had pinned me down in the bedroom, was not a passive entity. It was active, showing itself to everyone, and allying itself with the evil energy in this place. After consulting with a spiritualist, the terrifying truth was revealed. Mr. Danu, who received messages through dreams and trances, received guidance from the original guardians of the house, who were either neutral or protective. They conveyed a firm message: "We were here before you. You can't chase us away, but we have fenced this house. Anyone who wants to harm your family won't be able to penetrate." This protection, it turns out, only prevented fatal crimes. The problem was that the attacks we experienced, such as arguments, mental exhaustion, and even Mother's strange illness of vomiting, blood, undetectable medically, but cured after prayer, strongly indicated that they were sent from outside sources. We realized that the haunted house wasn't just a haunted house, but a spiritual battleground. The old entity protected us from external attacks, but those external attacks succeeded in destroying us from within, causing us to suffer slowly. Although the Genderuwo caused me the most intimate terror, the entity most frequently seen and heard in the haunted house was a female ghost. It was believed to reside in the large bamboo tree next to the house, and its appearances had become a routine for our family. These apparitions often occurred in the afternoon. My brother-in-law once experienced this himself. As he opened the side door to take out the trash, he saw a long, white female ghost, her hair covering her face, clinging to the wall outside the house. Most terrifyingly, the female ghost appeared relaxed, swinging her legs back and forth as if relaxing. My brother-in-law immediately screamed hysterically, calling out to the rest of us, but of course, the entity had already disappeared by the time we arrived. One of the most haunted spots in our house is the badminton hall in the back. This building has been abandoned and unused for over 20 years. Although empty, the building is never quiet. Our family, without exception, often hears strange sounds coming from there in the middle of the night. The sound of a shuttlecock being hit hard. The sound of sneakers squeaking on the cement floor. The building seems to be occupied by unseen players who continue their matches in the silence of the night. The horror of this building was experienced firsthand by a visitor many years ago. One of my father's customers, who was playing badminton there, went to the bathroom one afternoon. As he entered, he saw a white female ghost sitting relaxed on the edge of the bathtub. The ghost stared at him while dangling her legs above the water. The customer was immediately terrified. He never dared set foot in our house again, and the story spread, cementing the reputation of the haunted house. Most worrying was the discovery of the presence of a planted entity. Besides the interference of the old guardian, who was merely being mischievous, the attacks that devastated our family were the work of sent beings. Some spiritualists mention the presence of two small children, deliberately sent by outsiders to destroy family harmony and disrupt our fortunes. This triggered the intense arguments and constant heated tempers between us. Our family had reached its limit. We couldn't continue living under constant pressure. We decided to fight back. We invited several clergy and psychics to cleanse and exorcise all the evil entities. Cleansing procedures were carried out, prayers were recited, and anointing oil was sprinkled. However, to no avail. The original occupants of the house refused to leave. Through communication with Mr. Danu, they delivered a cold and defiant message. "We will not leave. You cannot expel me. Before you were here, I was already here." This failure forced us to accept the most terrifying reality. This house belonged to them, and we were merely temporary residents who happened to be staying in their nest. After the failed expulsion attempt, Mr. Danu, with his spiritual sensitivity, taught us to accept the situation. He advised us all. They do exist, and they are one level above us. But as long as we are not afraid and do not do harm, they will not harm us. They only want to show their presence. If we are brave, they will be the ones afraid. We must live side by side with the ghosts. We must be mentally strong, because this house will never be peaceful. After all the terror we've experienced, the question people often ask is, why don't you just sell this house and move? Logically, that's the most rational answer. However, we can't do it. The haunted house is a house built from scratch by my father, in the middle of a deserted forest. Every corner of this house holds priceless childhood memories. Playing hide and seek until nightfall, gatherings, and growing up with family. The value of a moment is far more precious than the physical building. We can't leave this place, where we were born and raised, just because it's haunted. We've learned to coexist, accepting that we're merely tenants in a true home. They just want to show themselves. They won't be able to hurt us as long as we're braver. Now, we live with full awareness. We know that the sound of shoes in the badminton hall will always be heard at night. We know that sometimes the shrill laughter of a female ghost will disturb the silence. And we know that the heat and conflict will continue to try to divide us. But we also know that as long as we are strong inside, and as long as our prayers are louder than their whispers, we will survive. We must face these fears every day, because this is our home, our heritage, and our eternal nest. We are not afraid of the darkness outside. What is most terrifying is the fact that, in this house, we are never truly alone.